Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is the fourth Harry Potter movie, and once again stars Daniel Radcliffe, Robert Grint, I believe it is, and Emma Watson, and it's about the fourth book, which is obviously titled Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. In this book, the Triwizard Tournament is something that is like this wizard competition that's been going on for many years, but it's been halted for a few years because it was ruled to be dangerous. But eventually times changed and things changed, so they decided to bring it back, and it's being hosted at Hogwarts School this year, along with two other schools. And I don't remember their names, but they're from, I know one is from France, and the other is from, I believe, Bulgaria, also, yeah. And Harry is, for some reason, entered, even though he's underage. So now we have 4 Triwizard champions fighting to win the competition. And yeah, that's the plot of this movie. And it's got this really big thing going on, that being the Triwizard Tournament. So a lot goes on in this movie, and I think it really works. I don't feel it's as good as The Prisoner of Azkaban, which is the last movie, but I definitely think this is better than The Sorcerer's Stone and The Chamber of Secrets. It's really well done. I like the opening scene where we start to see a few things, like, it was after Wormtail, who had returned, and he was Voldemort's servant, and how he's trying to work to bring him back. And we get to see, like, his workings and the workings of some of the new rising Death Eaters, who are basically the followers of Voldemort. We get to see them in this movie, and they're, trying to work, and we see some of the backstory on them through some visions, and it's pretty cool to see. Like, the opening scenes, we also see there's this Quidditch World Cup, which Harry and company go to, and we get to see it, and it looks really cool. That's probably one of the best Quidditch matches in the entire film series so far. Probably is, actually. I mean, I've actually watched them all to the end in advance, so I can do all these reviews at once, but still. It's a really awesome scene, and I love that scene with the Quidditch World Cup. Unfortunately, there's not too much of it. Like, we see a little bit of it. The problem is, it, like, happens for a few seconds, and it just cuts away from it, and I'm like, why would you do that? It looks so cool. Like, we don't even see them playing Quidditch. We just see them teams riding up on their broomsticks, and then they're just playing around, giving advertisements, and then after a little while it just ends. Like, and you might be saying, then why is one of the best Quidditch matches? Well, it's like such good CGI they're using to have them fly around. It looks so good, and you want to see it, but you don't. So yeah, 3s is probably still the best of the Quidditch matches. And another thing, as I was watching the beginning of this movie, I was like, wait a minute, where's this plot point where they took it out? Yeah, I kind of feel like 4 onwards when they started taking out a few things, whereas 1, 2, and 3 were more fateful adaptations. And 4, for me, was the most apparent that they took stuff out. Like, it mainly took away things from the beginning, because in the beginning of the 4th one, there was a house elf named Winky, who was the house elf to this guy named Barty Crouch, who plays a big part in the story for, like, regulating the Triwizard Tournament. And they take it out of the movie for some reason, which I'm not sure why, because it's pretty important. And I mean, you can do the movie without Winky, that's fine. And there's also Dobby in the book, but not here. Dobby isn't even until Part 7, Part 1, if you want that, which I don't know why. I just kind of feel like Dobby should reappear, because Dobby is, again, kind of important in the 4th and the 5th chapters of the Harry Potter, not the book, the entire saga. And, that's kind of one of the major things they took out that kind of bothered me. But, I know. Book to movie, you gotta make changes. It just feels like 1, 2, and 3 did such a better job of putting, like, almost everything. Maybe it's because they're shorter books, maybe because 4, 5, 6... Well, more so 4, 5, and 7 are really long books. You gotta take stuff out. I understand that. It's just one of those things that kind of, like, they could have at least, mentioned it, or at least stuck one scene in with Winky or something. I don't know why. And, they take out a couple of the house elf significance in this movie, which I don't really have that big a problem with it, because it really didn't do that much in the book. So, I'm glad that it's a change that makes sense, even if, I kind of wish they would have at least mentioned it once. And I'm done talking about that. Another thing in this movie, Robert Pattinson as Cedric Diggory, otherwise known as Edward Cullen in the Twilight series. Yes, this is before Twilight, though, so he's actually pretty good in this movie. I was actually pretty surprised that Robert Pattinson actually is good in a movie. He's actually good in a movie. That's just, wow. He's actually not that bad. I mean, he's not, granted, he doesn't have that much dialogue, and he's not on screen that much, but for what he is, I like him. He's a cool character. Cedric Diggory's the guy chosen to represent Hogwarts, and Harry's, the accidental wise he entered, but they have to put him in because of rules that are like some kind of divine right that, you can't really alter. You have to do that because Harry was selected, and I like that. I like that. Robert Pattinson, he was pretty good. And once again, the three main guys, Harry, Ron, Hermione, they're good. This goes without saying. They're good in every movie, but they just get better as the movies go along, I fear. I don't fear. I feel. Jeez. This is why I need a script. But I do these unscripted because it's more fun. Yeah. One thing about this movie I also wasn't that big a fan of was the whole thing of the Yule Ball. Like, the Triwizard Tournament, one thing about it is there's this thing called the Yule Ball that happens around Christmas, where it's basically a school dance. That's basically what it is. And around the time when the Yule Ball is happening, it kind of turns into a teen romance drama thing, and I don't like teen romance dramas, like, at all. I'm not a fan of them unless they, have good plots to go along with them and all that. Which this is one of, thankfully. And it's not that big a part of this movie. It's just this one section where it's like that, It's not that great a presence, and I'm not that big a fan of it, but thankfully it's not there all that much, and it's in, like, a little bit in the middle. I don't really care about that. And, they introduced some new characters, like Cho Chang, who is Harry's love interest. I'm pretty sure she was introduced in the third book, if I remember correctly, but she really didn't do anything in that book, so, they introduced her here. She's alright. She doesn't really do anything, as she's actually supposed to be Cedric's love interest in this one. She has a bigger role in the part 5. So, that's that. Cho's functional in her role. She doesn't really do that much, but, she's alright, I guess. And we also have Victor Krum, who's this star Quidditch player who just so happens to attend the Bulgarian school, which I can't quite remember. And he somehow becomes attracted to Hermione, and they end up going to the Yule Ball together for some reason. He's not really given that many lines to work with, and you're not really sure why you bought it here. But granted, I don't remember them doing much of that in the book either, so... it's just kind of one of those things where it's just like, okay, because Ron and Hermione kind of have a falling out in this one. They kind of argue a lot, and this is kind of one of those scenes where they just want to talk to each other, mainly because Ron is, like, jealous of Harry. Like, one thing I really like is how all the saga chronicles Ron. Like, Ron is this character he's like the fifth-ish born. Yeah, he's like one of the Weasleys, and he's younger, so he's not as well known as the other ones of them that have graduated or have gone on to other things. So he's kind of an underdog, and he needs to learn how, to be a bigger role. And, with Harry, he gets that. And I really like that as the movies go on, once again. And the action scenes in this movie are great. Like, I love the scene where Harry's going against that dragon, like, one of the first trials. It's really awesome to look at. It was really tense. Like, there were so many... Like, that scene was just so awesome, the way he flew around and stuff. And it was really, really cool to look at that scene. I really was a big fan of that scene. That was pretty cool, and I like the second trial where he's swimming underwater also. And I really like all the humanity of Harry's choice there, what he did, even though I'm not going to spoil what happens unless you've read the book, The remaining champions, Krum is actually a champion, if I hadn't said it already. The champion of the French school is this girl named Fleur Delacour, I believe. It's probably not how you pronounce it because it's a French name. I don't know French. Fleur's alright. She's not that important to the story either, so we don't really see her that much unless it's in the Triwizard Tournament and stuff. She has a bigger role in Deathly Hallows, well, she's more of a presence in the movies, at least. But yeah, that's a lot that goes on in this movie. The CG, I think this is some of the best, if not the best CGI in the entire film saga, is in Goblet of Fire. This and the Deathly Hallows movies have the best CGI, I feel. Like, it's so real looking, and, the green screen, it's kind of hard to tell, actually. Like, this one, it works really well, so you can really buy, like, when Harry's flying on the broom and swimming underwater and all that, and it looks really good. So yeah, to recap, I like the characters, they're really cool. I'm not the biggest fan of the character interactions, because it's, like, the middle of the love dialogue and stuff. I don't feel it's as faithful as an adaptation as some of the other ones so far, but it's not something that's supposed to bother me. It's just kind of one of those nitpicky things, I don't know. And I love the action scenes. I love the cinematography. It's so good. Soundtrack is still awesome, even though I believe John Williams only did the first 3 movies soundtrack. But you know, I wouldn't. If you told me John Williams didn't have soundtrack for everything, I would believe you because it feels like John Williams music. Quick edit. I forgot to talk about 2 things. First off, the character of Mad Eye Moody. Mad Eye Moody is awesome. And there's a thing about his character that's kind of a spoiler, which I'm not really going to talk about, but I'll say Mad Eye Moody was like my favorite character in this movie. Like, he was so funny. Like, the things he said and the things he did, it's Nicolas Cage insane, and it was awesome. And another thing, I found this the funniest of the Harry Potter movies. Like, I was laughing a lot. Like, I don't know why, but this movie was really funny, and I really liked that, you know. The other movies, they have their sense of humor, but this was actually a pretty funny movie, like, even though it's actually one of the darker ones. Like, this is actually the first of the PG-13 Harry Potter movies. Like, 1, 2, and 3 are PG, everything else onward is PG-13, which, they're darker movies, so I expect that. But yeah, Mad Eye's character was pretty awesome, and Nicolas Cage were, like, they should've, you know, if Nicolas Cage played Mad Eye, I think, like, I would buy it, like, this guy who plays him, I don't know who he is. If you told me he was Nicolas Cage, like, with a lot of makeup and CGI, I might believe that, actually. He was awesome, and he and other things made the movie really funny. And now back to the unedited thing, because this is recorded after all that stuff. Either way, The Goblet of Fire was a pretty awesome movie, and I had a great time with it. I didn't like it as much as The Prisoner of Azkaban, but I'd say out of the 4 so far reviewed, it's my second favorite. And I'm going to be giving Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire 92%. There are a few things that bothered me, but all in all, it's a great movie, and I liked it a lot. And it should go without saying that all of the Harry Potter movies are great movies. Like, there's not one bad movie in them. But, you know, that's all I can say about Goblet of Fire. Pretty good. This is actually one of my favorite books. I really like this book, and I really like this movie, too. So, yeah, next time, I'm going to be talking about another movie. I mean, right after I record this, I'm going to talk about The Order of the Phoenix. Adios, home slices, and I'll see ya next time. That was me trying to do a magic spell. Pretend you didn't see that. Please do so.